All right, welcome to the Study Abroad for History Majors meeting. My name is Genesis Herrera, and I am one of the regional advisors in the UCSB EAP office. Joining me today are the undergraduate advisor for history, Corey Carpenter, and a Germany returnee who's a history major, Irene. The focus of this meeting is to relay specific advice for studying abroad as a history major, and we plan to cover the why you should study abroad, the where you might consider going, and what courses and program types you may want to think about, how you can figure this all out and where to find the resources you need, and finally to hear from Irene, who is a history major, like I said, who studied in Germany. So now let's talk about why you should study abroad as a history major. By taking classes abroad, you can help ensure that you will graduate on time or even early. I assume you chose your major because it interests you, so why not pursue that interest in another setting that will offer you a new perspective? You may even find courses that could count towards your major that are not offered at UCSB. Lastly, you will simply make yourself more marketable by studying abroad. You're going to graduate with a degree in history from a great university, but you will be able to distinguish yourself from your peers when you first start to look for jobs or apply for graduate school once you graduate. Irene, if you want to unmute yourself, could you actually share with us why you think history majors should study abroad and what got you interested in studying abroad for your major?
Definitely. I think study abroad is probably an invaluable experience for everyone, but especially for me, I think that really being immersed in the country I was interested in gave me a totally new perspective, partly because when you take classes abroad, you're kind of separated from this American-centric perspective that we get here in college because, for example, I took a 19th century history class and I got to see kind of how Germans study history or how other Europeans study history, and you kind of get a totally new perspective. And I guess for prospective historians, it's always a good thing to kind of separate yourself from the way you're used to learning things and kind of seeing how other people study history and understand history. So I think that's just a great perspective to gain if you're planning on studying history.
Thank you. And you're a little bit low. I wonder if you might be able to adjust your headphones or get a little closer to your computer so you can hear you better. No worries.
Is this better?
Yeah, much better. Thank
Okay.
you. But I think we got all of that.
Okay.
So now let's talk about where you should go. And you have a lot of choices in general. UCEP offers over 150 programs in 40 countries. To search for program possibilities in history, you should go to the UC Education Abroad program website or the UCEAP website. This is where you will find all of the University of California study abroad programs and their details. To sort through your options, I recommend that you use the Find a Program search function circled on the side there. Without narrowing your search, you will first find over 150 programs when you just do a general search for everything. By identifying first the discipline area and then the subject area, the list of possible programs will be narrowed down. Oops, looks like we have someone else in here.
I think I just admitted them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So you can see here, once you narrow down your search, that there are around 90 UCEAP programs offering coursework in the field of history. You could then further narrow down your choices by selecting the language of instruction and/or your desired term. So play around with this search and explore your possibilities. It's all going to be kind of on the left side of that UCEAP page. Now let's take a look at the additional resources that we have for you. I am taking us now, this is showing you the UCSB EAP website, which is different from the one we were just on. This website is where you will find all of the campus-specific info, so like the advisors from our campus, our drop-in hours, our campus events, everything that is just for UCSB students. The UCEAP website that we were just on tells you all of the program information, and all UC students refer to this page to find that information. But this website is where you will find all of the campus-specific info, and by going to the Academics tab at the top, you will find a drop-down menu which will take you to the advising pages for all the majors on campus. So first you find your major, and then it'll bring you to a page that looks like this. So here's the advising page for history majors, and this is where you will find specific advice from your department. A particular interest is the section on what classes you should take if you want to receive major credit for any of your UCSB classes. And on this page, you will also find videos of UCSB history majors talking about their study abroad experiences. Another excellent source of information that's on this page about courses that have been taken for major credit by UCSB students is the Gaucho Credit Abroad database. This is also found on the UCSB EAP website under academics, so the same spot. The database shows you the type of credit UCSB students have received for courses for the UC EAP courses they have taken. So you would click on the database there. You have to click on something that states that you've read and understand a disclaimer, and then you're able to kind of do another search for classes for your major, minors, or GEs, whatever you're looking for. When looking on the Gaucho Credit Abroad for courses taken for history major credit, you will find over 370 course results that we currently have. This can be really helpful if you're wondering what programs might offer courses in your major, or what specific classes might count towards your major. Just keep in mind that this is a historical database of what has been done. It does not tell you what will be offered when you might be going. It also does not mean that these courses are pre-approved by your department for major credit. This is just a database telling you what has been petitioned and approved in the past. Gaucho Credit Abroad, like I just said, tells you what UCSB students have taken and what kind of credit they received. And this is another database that is a broader resource, which is the UCEP course catalog. This contains courses taken by all UC students on UCEAP and not just gauchos from UCSB. And it provides some different information. It can be found under student resources on the menu of the UCEAP website, or if you're already looking at a specific program page, it's going to be found under the academics tab on the side. So again, the Gaucho Credit Abroad is telling you UCSB specific information. This UCEAP course catalog is telling you what all UC students have been taking in the last few years, regardless of whether they petitioned them or not. Looking at the UCEAP course catalog for history courses, you will find over 1,000 courses listed, and you can get short course descriptions of each of these courses through the hyperlinks. But just like the Gaucho Credit Abroad, this database simply reflects what has been done, not what you can do. New UCEAP programs are added every year, and there will be no historic data for any of them. So like just this year, for example, we're recruiting for a new program in Iceland, and there's a couple of other new programs in countries we already have. So for example, those, if you were to search for them, they wouldn't give you any data because no students have participated in them before. So where you can go to get the most accurate, where can you go to get the most accurate information about courses you might take? For that, you will want to go to the UCEAP website for the program that you're looking at. I just mentioned that the UCEAP course catalog would be on the program page. This is what it would look like. So if you happen to be on the National University of Singapore page, on the side you would see all of those additional tabs for additional information. Under academics, you will always find the UCEAP course catalog. This tab will also tell you the number of courses and credits that you will be expected to take. If it is a host university program, such as this one for the National University of Singapore, there will be links to the host university course catalogs or searches where you can look at the current course offerings. So a program where you're going to a university and the courses are not preset, so they're not prepackaged, you're going to go there and choose them yourself. It would look like this, with just catalogs taking you to places where you could look for courses. If it was a program where the courses were preset or prepackaged, you would instead see a list of the possible courses you could take. So it's okay if different programs have this section looking a little different. I can't see the chat box yet here, but are there any questions so far?
There are none in the chat so far.
Okay. Thank you for admitting those other students for me. That helps a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So we've covered a lot about the resources you can use to search for UCEAP programs that offer courses in history and where to find information about history courses that students have taken in the past. Now let's talk briefly about how you can get major credit for your UCEAP courses. First of all, you should know that all of the courses you take on UCEAP will automatically come back to your transcript and count towards your graduation requirements. So on any of our programs, you are earning official UC credits and official UC grades. There is nothing that you need to do in order for this to happen. It happens automatically. But getting credit towards your major or minor requirements for a course that you take abroad is not automatic. So first, you must take the appropriate courses and then get them approved by your major department. Let me also remind you that you do not need to take major coursework while abroad as long as you still graduate on time. You may very well fulfill all of your major requirements at UCSB, or perhaps you are just going for a summer abroad, in which case you can take whatever classes you want, as long as you know that you'll still be on track. Sometimes students will go abroad and focus on one major versus the other. If they're a double major or if they have a minor, they might be focusing on a minor. So that's okay on our end, as long as it's okay on your end and you've consulted your plans with your advisor. Typically, major coursework must be upper division and taken for a letter grade, and so you should already plan on doing that when you're selecting your program. And you should communicate with your major advisor before you go, as well as when you're there. What you plan to take and what you actually enroll in will probably be two different things. That course that you thought you would take may not be offered, or you may change your mind, or there could be a scheduling conflict. So this is why it's very important that you do your planning and pick a program that will work for you and allow for you to be adaptable and flexible. For example, if you go to a host university that has a history department offering a variety of courses, it probably won't matter if you decide to take a different course from the one that you originally planned. There could be many courses that would work for you in that case. You can and should reach out to your department academic advisor when you are abroad with any questions or concerns about the classes you are enrolling in. And finally, getting official approval for major credit for a course you took abroad must happen after you have returned and received your grades for your UCEAP courses. So it takes a while from the time that students finish their program to the time that they actually see their grades on gold. There are many reasons for that, but this delay is always the case, and it's just how UCEAP works. Academic advisors on campus are familiar with this, and so they know that they're not able to really review your coursework from abroad until you can see it on your gold account. That's when you know it's back. And so you're not able to formally petition it for credit until you return. Your major advisors will want to see, of course, that you took the class and passed it, and that you passed it with a letter grade. So with all of that said, let's hear directly from your history advisor, Corey. If you don't know her, this is an excellent chance for you to hear from her. So Corey, do you want to say a few things?
Yeah, sure. So first off, I just want to thank Genesis and Irene for organizing this great meeting, and thank all of you for coming out. So as Genesis mentioned, the history department really does highly encourage all of our students to study abroad. There are so many EAP programs that offer history courses, so you really do have a huge range of choices for where you can study abroad. A couple things. So I would recommend setting up an appointment with me before you start looking into specific study abroad programs, just so that we can review your remaining major requirements and discuss which requirements you might be able to fill abroad. And then once you actually begin the application process for a specific program, we will meet again, and there will be some paperwork that I have to sign off on, kind of stating that we met and that you know what requirements you have left and you have a plan for what you're going to take while you're abroad. So like Genesis said too, we don't really pre-petition classes before you go abroad. But we do ask that you save all of the syllabi and any assignments that you complete for your classes abroad. And then once you get back and you have that grade on your transcript, we can look over them and see if they can be applicable to the major and what requirements they would best fit under. Our students, our history majors really have had great success in the past with petitioning their history courses to count towards their major requirements. It usually works out pretty well. For history majors, EAP courses usually apply to the 36 upper division units of history electives. And for history of public policy and law majors, EAP courses usually apply to either area B1 or B2 of the upper division major. And one important thing to keep in mind is that at least 20 of your upper division major units have to be taken in residence at UCSB. So the history major and the history of public policy and law major are both 40 upper division units. So if you're planning on going abroad for like a year, let's say, kind of a longer program, you can only apply up to 20 upper division units of EAP courses towards your major. So you still have to take at least half of your upper div major requirements here at UCSB. Yeah, I think that's kind of all the logistics. But again, like I said, a ton of history majors study abroad. It's very common. They're very often able to complete major requirements abroad. So I highly recommend looking into it, and just let me know if you have any other questions about it.
Thanks, Corey. And because I believe you were a UCSB grad, did you study abroad as well?
I did not study abroad, and I highly regret it. I really, really wish I did. So that's my, like, plug for all of you to study abroad.
If you could now go anywhere to study abroad, where would you go?
Oh my gosh, I've seen some really cool programs in like Ireland and Scotland that have really like interested me on like the history of like magic and like mysticism and things like that. So I would probably go to one of those countries.
Definitely, yeah. Those would be some really, and that's what I was kind of mentioning before, where you could find these really cool courses or just even learn about things you wouldn't hear, and you're learning about them like in the places where they happen, which is like,
right.
Oh. Well, thank you for sharing. So if you didn't already know your advisor, this is Corey. You can screenshot this for her email and advising hours. You should definitely chat with her at some point soon. So now let's hear from Irene again. And Irene, you earlier touched upon the courses that you took over there. So could you elaborate on that and just tell us about your experience overall?
For sure. So I ended up taking one course that was directly related to my major, and that was the 19th century history class that I mentioned earlier. And that was really fascinating. Like I said, you get a just totally different perspective while still learning so much. And thankfully, like, Corey made it super easy for me to apply that to my requirements, so that really wasn't a struggle for me at all. And it was just interesting, especially I think any city you go to has so much of its own history, like outside of the classroom. So I think for history nerds, like, it's just a great experience no matter where you go. And Berlin and German history had interested me a lot, so it was like living in a history lesson, or as cheesy as that sounds. As to the rest of my experience, I actually had two really valuable experiences there. One was I found a lot of clarity in choosing a topic for my senior thesis, which I had no idea what I wanted to do before I studied abroad, but once I was there, like, I really discovered specific topics in German history that interested me, and now I'm writing my senior thesis on it. So you have like basically no idea how much inspiration you can get from studying abroad until you do it, and that's why I highly recommend it to everyone. And the other great experience that I would touch on is I was able to find an internship in Berlin. I know that can probably vary depending on where you go and if you speak certain languages or whatever, but I knew that I'm interested in going into law after I graduate UCSB, specifically immigration law. And I was able to get an internship with a refugee home in Berlin. So that also helped me kind of steer my path towards what I want to do in the future. So I would really recommend studying abroad, not only for meeting your requirements to graduate, but really for finding so much more clarity on what you're personally passionate about and what you want to do in the future.
Sorry if I missed this when you were talking about your thesis, but what is your thesis going to be on? Could you repeat it?
Yes, I'm basically talking about the German reunification in 1990 and how that links to this new wave of right-wing extremism that we see in Germany today.
Wow, very relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make sure your screen's not blinking right now, right? My screen is not going static.
No.
It's fine. Okay. And were those courses, did you take them in German or in English?
The 19th century history I took in German, but I know there's also definitely courses in English at that university, and I assume at most other universities too.
So how would you compare your experience there to UCSB and your courses here, or just, educational experience here?
I would say it's pretty different. I think at UCSB it's a lot more interaction with your professors and a lot more assignments, whereas at the German universities, at least, you have one assignment and that's your final. And I think a lot of European universities are like that. So it's all
Irene? Corey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think Irene's audio went out.
oh, sorry. I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
IV Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
Do you want me to repeat anything, or?
You cut off when you said so, and you were gonna say something else.
Oh no.
But it's okay.
Yeah, essentially, it's a different learning experience, but I think it's just really valuable.
Thank you. And I guess since we have these pictures up on the screen, did they prompt any memories? What were you up to in these pictures? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, so the first picture on the left is in front of a palace in Potsdam, which is a city right adjacent to Berlin. And it's with a good friend I met from England, actually. You meet a lot of international friends, which is so cool. Because after you return home, you basically always have a home in whatever country you visit. You could stay with that person and visit with them. The picture on the top center is of the German Parliament building, and I'm standing there with a friend I'm actually living with this year who also studied abroad. So she was in the Netherlands, and she came and visited me. So depending on where you are, the little added bonus of EAP is you can also travel and experience so many different places along with the one you're living in. And the one below that was a little trip to Ireland I took with some of my friends. And on the right is more recent, as you can imagine, because of the masks. And that's a girl I was living with. That's us on a train with our masks, being safe,
Very proud of you. Good job.
Thank
you. Great, thanks. These are, great photos. It looks like you were having a really good time, probably minus the masks at the end. Thank you for sharing. And I guess lastly for now, what advice would you give to history majors considering studying abroad? I
would say that if you have already kind of found something you're passionate in, some subject you're interested in, whether it's thematically or geographically, if you have any ideas now, I think it would be really valuable to think about what place would most enrich your history experience at UCSB.
Thank you. And I'm just curious, sorry, how much German background did you have before going off to Germany?
So I was actually born there.
Okay.
But I didn't really live there. I'm half German, so I grew up speaking a bit of German, but I also was taking courses here.
Oh, awesome. Great. Thank you.
For sure.
Okay, let me wrap it up with a few more slides and then we can get into Q&A. You may feel a little overwhelmed at this point. I've shared a lot of information with you and I was going through it pretty quickly. But just know that there are multiple websites and databases, again, that hold all of this information and all these resources for you. The reality is that UCEP offers a wide range of programs, different types, different terms, different countries, different languages, and just, very different programs. They're all for UC students, for online campuses, and new ones get added every year. If you have friends that are studying at other UC campuses, it is possible you all could like study abroad together and, you know, go off and have this wonderful experience together. But you do have a lot of choices, and unfortunately, it's not as simple as, oh, you're a history major, go to this university and take these classes. So we just wanted to kind of help you figure out how to get started and how to narrow down your options. And the good news is that we are still here available to help, even though we're not on campus. Our UCSB EAP office is open with us as staff advisors and our peer advisors that you can see here, who are ready to help you on your journey. I do not believe we have a history peer advisor, but we have, you know, a wide array of majors represented within our PAs, and they can certainly get you started on, you know, how to narrow down your options. Visit our contact us page on our website to meet with us via Zoom. So UCSB EAP, and then contact us, and then all of the, like, you know, instructions and buttons to click on will be there. So my final words of wisdom for you are start your planning now, and you juniors in the room, it's not too late to go as a senior. If any seniors walked in after I got started, you know, you could still potentially go abroad after your 4th year if you really wanted to make it work and you haven't had a chance to study abroad up until now. I myself studied abroad as a 5th year. I was a sociology major, and I just, you know, planned it that way and chose to do other things during my, you know, my other years in school. So I went as a 5th year. It's the best decision I ever made. I would much rather have gone as a 5th year and done that extra year of school than to not go at all. But of course, everybody is different. We highly encourage you to try to fit study abroad in your 4 years, but just know that that's an option. Attend more info meetings. So we'll have info meetings running all quarter. They're posted on our website under news and events. If you have like a double major, we might be offering one for your other major, or we're offering mainly next week all of our country info meetings. And we're going to have more just different types of info meetings later in October and into November. Of course, consult with your advisors at your academic department, with Corey, at your college, so the College of Letters and Science advisors, and at our campus EAP office. And lastly, don't miss out. I know that things are pretty daunting right now with all the uncertainties and all that's going on in the world, but it doesn't hurt to at least give it a try. And I think that you will really find it rewarding if you give it a try and programs run as we hope that they will. And hopefully hearing from Irene kind of reinforces that. So don't miss out. This concludes our presentation, so I will stop recording now.